10 years. 10 years of trying. 10 years of watching people disappear. But tonight, it ends.
Ada stared at Victor. Her hands trembled around the Bible. For several seconds, she said nothing. Then she snapped. Enough! Victor kept his eyes on the road. Enough of what? Enough of the lies. Victor said nothing. Ada's voice rose. Who are you? Silence. What is this place? Still silence. Why am I here? Victor tightened his grip on the steering wheel. Ada. No. She pointed at him. No more half-truths. Tears filled her eyes. You said you've been trying to save me for 7 years. Victor remained silent. You said this isn't the first time. Still silent. You said people disappear here. Her voice cracked. So tell me the truth. The car continued forward. Tell me who those people were. Silence. Tell me what happened to them. Nothing. Ada slammed her hand against the dashboard. Tell me what is happening. Victor finally looked at her. The exhaustion in his eyes was impossible to miss. Then he reached into the glove compartment. He pulled out a worn brown envelope and placed it on her lap. Ada stared at it. What is this? Victor's voice was barely above a whisper. The reason I stopped believing anyone could escape. Slowly, Ada opened the envelope. Inside were 3 photographs, 3 frightened faces, 3 different people. Victor swallowed, then said, They all sat where you're sitting now. Ada stared at the photographs. Every photograph had been taken inside the same vehicle, the same dashboard, the same seats, the same dark road beyond the windshield. Only the passengers were different. The first was a young woman. She sat rigidly in the passenger seat. Her eyes were fixed on something outside the window. Fear lingered on her face. The second was a young man. He appeared confused, as if he had just been told something impossible. The third was another young woman. Her face was wet with tears. She looked absolutely terrified. Ada slowly lowered the photographs. Who are they? Victor's eyes remained fixed on the road. The first people I tried to save. Ada looked back at the photographs. Then another question struck her. Where did these come from? Victor glanced at the envelope. Dashboard camera. Silence. The engine hummed softly. After a moment, Victor spoke again. After the first disappearance, I started saving the footage. His voice lowered. I needed proof they existed. Ada felt a chill run through her body. Proof, as if the world itself had forgotten them. Victor pointed at the first photograph. Her name was Ifeoma. Then the second. That was Jason. Finally, the third. Her name was Abigail. They were all prospective corps members. Ada looked up. Just like you. Victor nodded. They were all traveling to camp. Ada studied the photographs again. 3 frightened strangers. 3 lives interrupted by something they never understood. What happened to them? Victor was silent for a moment. Then he answered, The same thing that almost happened to you. Ada's chest tightened. Victor stared into the darkness ahead. They arrived on the forbidden day. The vehicle moved deeper into the darkness. I tried to save them. His voice grew quieter. But they looked back. Ada swallowed. What happened after that? Victor's jaw tightened. I never saw them again. Silence filled the car. The engine hummed softly. Branches scraped against the sides of the vehicle. Ada looked back at the photographs again. You mean they died? Victor shook his head. No. Then what happened? His answer came immediately. I don't know. Ada frowned.
Victor finally glanced at her. I mean that literally. His eyes looked tired, painfully tired. I don't know. I watched them disappear. Ada felt a chill crawl up her spine. Disappear? Victor nodded. One moment, they were sitting beside me. His grip tightened on the wheel. The next moment, he paused. They were gone.
Ada stared at him. Just gone? Victor nodded slowly. Like they never existed. The silence returned. Then Ada asked the question that had been tormenting her. If core members keep disappearing, her voice was barely above a whisper, why doesn't anyone know? Victor almost smiled, not from amusement, from sadness. Because the camp is real. Ada blinked. What? The NYSC camp exists. Victor nodded. Hundreds of core members arrive camp every year. Ada frowned. Then why? Because it only happens on the forbidden day. Victor pointed toward the darkness ahead. The village appears. The road changes. The rules begin. And only a few unlucky people ever see it. Ada looked down. The explanation made horrible sense. Victor continued. If a core member never arrives at camp, his voice was calm, what do people assume? Ada answered immediately. An accident. Victor nodded. Exactly. A robbery. Victor nodded again. A kidnapping. Another nod. No one suspects this place. Silence. Then Ada asked the question that mattered most. Who are you? A pause. And why are you helping me? Victor's expression changed. For the first time, genuine confusion appeared on his face, as though he had forgotten who he was. Then he gave a bitter laugh. A long time ago, his voice was quiet. I was a prospective core member. Ada froze. Victor kept his eyes on the road. I sat exactly where you're sitting now. A chill ran through her. I arrived on the forbidden day. The driver warned me not to look back. Ada swallowed. And you did? Victor shook his head. No. Silence. Then what happened? Victor slowly pointed at the rearview mirror. The mirror. Ada's stomach tightened. The mirror? Victor nodded. I told myself it wasn't the same thing. A sad smile crossed his face. I was wrong. The engine hummed softly. The moment I looked, everything changed. His voice dropped. I never escaped. A long pause. I've been trapped on this road ever since.
Ada stared at him, unable to speak. Victor finally looked at her. And that's why I'm helping you. He pointed at her. Because I don't understand you. Ada frowned. Victor's eyes narrowed. You looked back. The words hung in the air. You looked back. His voice lowered. And you're still here. Ada felt her stomach tighten. Victor shook his head slowly. 10 years. His eyes returned to the road. 10 years of trying. 10 years of watching people disappear. His voice cracked slightly. And you are the first person who looked back. He swallowed. And survived. Ada stared at Victor. The photographs remained in her lap. The frightened faces felt heavier than stone. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Ada broke the silence. What happens now? Victor didn't answer immediately. His eyes remained fixed on the road, the same endless road, the same nightmare. Finally, he spoke. That's the problem. Ada frowned. What do you mean? Victor let out a slow breath. I don't know. Ada blinked. What? Victor glanced at her. I've never gotten this far. The words sent a chill through her body. Victor pointed toward the photographs. They disappeared
almost immediately. His expression darkened. None of them lasted this long. Ada swallowed hard. The realization settled over her. Victor wasn't following a plan. He was improvising. For the first time in 7 years. For the first time ever. Then Victor reached into his shirt pocket. He pulled out a small silver pendant. The chain was old, worn from years of use. Ada stared at it. Victor looked at the pendant for several seconds before speaking. "My mother gave this to me." Something in his voice changed. The sadness became personal. "I was wearing this the day I entered this road." Ada looked away. For the first time, Victor no longer sounded like a guide. He sounded like a son. A missing son. A forgotten son. Victor removed the pendant completely, then placed it in Ada's hand. Ada immediately pushed it back. "No." Victor closed her fingers around it. "Take it." "No." "Take it." The firmness in his voice surprised her. Ada looked at him. Victor's eyes remained on the road. Then he reached into the glove compartment again. This time, he removed a photograph. Unlike the others, this one was worn almost beyond recognition. A young Victor stood between an elderly man and woman. All three were smiling. The photograph had been folded so many times that cracks ran through the image. Victor turned it over, then borrowed a pen from the dashboard. Slowly, carefully, he wrote something on the back. His full name, his parents' address, his hometown. Ada watched silently. A knot formed in her stomach. She already knew where this was going. Victor handed the photograph to her. "What is this for?" Victor didn't answer immediately. The road ahead suddenly became brighter. A strange glow appeared in the distance, far away, like dawn, except it wasn't dawn. Victor's expression changed instantly. The color drained from his face. His grip tightened on the wheel, and for the first time since the journey restarted, he looked afraid, truly afraid. "There it is." Ada turned toward the glow. "What is it?" Victor stared ahead, his voice barely above a whisper. "The boundary." The glow continued growing larger and larger and larger. Victor swallowed hard, then said the words Ada never wanted to hear. "We don't have much time." The glow continued growing ahead of them. At first, it looked distant, like a tiny star trapped between the trees. But with every passing second, it grew larger, brighter, closer. Ada sat forward, her eyes fixed on it. The photographs remained in her lap. Victor's pendant felt heavy inside her hand. The closer they moved toward the light, the quieter the road became. The whispers were gone, the crying voices were gone, even the scratching sounds from the forest had disappeared. The silence felt unnatural, like the world was holding its breath. Ada looked at Victor. He was sweating. Not ordinary sweat, the kind that appears when someone is terrified. She had never seen him like this, not even when she looked back, not even when he spoke about the missing victims. His hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles had turned white. "Victor?" No answer. "Victor?" Still nothing. "Talk to me." Victor swallowed. His eyes never left the road. "Ada." His voice sounded strained. "If I tell you to drive." Ada frowned. "What?" "If I tell you to drive." He looked at her briefly. "Can you do it?" The question caught her off guard. "Drive?" Victor nodded. Ada glanced at the steering wheel, then back at him. "Yes." Victor nodded slowly, as if confirming something to himself. The glow ahead continued expanding. Now it filled most of the road.
The trees on both sides seemed to bend away from it. The air itself appeared distorted, almost liquid, almost unreal. Ada felt fear rising again. What is that place? Victor answered immediately. The only way out. Her heart stopped. Out! The word echoed inside her head. Out! Home! Freedom! Escape! Then she noticed something. Victor did not look relieved. He looked heartbroken. Ada stared at him. The realization struck her instantly. The escape wasn't for both of them. It was only for one. No. Victor remained silent. No. The word escaped her lips again. Victor remained silent. The glow continued growing. Closer, closer, closer. Then they appeared. White figures, dozens of them, standing across the road, motionless, silent, waiting. Victor removed his hands from the steering wheel, then turned toward Ada. For the first time since she entered the car, he smiled. A sad smile. A tired smile. The smile of a man who already knew how this story would end. Ada? Her eyes filled with tears. No. Victor nodded toward the driver's seat. It's time. Ada stared at him. Her heart pounded so hard it hurt. No. Victor's sad smile remained. Ada? No. Tears filled her eyes. No. The white figures remained motionless outside, waiting, watching. The glow behind them pulsed softly, like another world trying to break through. Victor pointed toward the road beyond them. You have to listen to me. Ada shook her head violently. No, you have to. No. Victor's voice hardened. For once, stop arguing and listen. Ada fell silent. Victor looked at her, really looked at her, as though trying to memorize her face. Then he nodded toward the pendant. Take that to my parents. His voice trembled slightly. Tell my mother I never forgot her. His eyes briefly closed. Tell my father I love him. Ada could not speak. The white figures outside began moving, slowly, almost gliding, drawing closer to the vehicle. Victor noticed. His expression changed. Time was running out. He grabbed Ada's shoulder. Ada? She looked up. His eyes were intense, urgent. Listen carefully. Ada nodded weakly. Victor pointed toward the road beyond the figures. The moment I get out, his voice was firm. Move into the driver's seat. Ada swallowed. Okay. Lock every door. She nodded. Do not stop. Another nod. No matter what happens. Her lips trembled. Victor's grip tightened. No matter what you hear. Ada felt fear creeping into her chest. No matter who calls your name. The white figures were getting closer. Much closer. Victor leaned forward. His voice dropped. And no matter what you see. He paused. The final instruction. The same instruction that started everything. Do not look back. Ada's tears flowed freely now. Victor smiled again. This time there was peace in it. You understand? Ada nodded. Victor opened the driver's door. The cold night air rushed inside. Immediately the white figures reacted. Their heads turned toward him. Every single one. Victor looked at Ada one final time, then handed her the car keys. Ada, his voice was almost lost in the wind. Go home. And he stepped out. The reaction was instant. Every white figure abandoned the vehicle. Every single one. They moved toward Victor. The darkness itself seemed to shift around him. Ada's hands shook violently. The entire car trembled. Victor looked back once. Not at the figures. At her. Then he shouted, Go! Ada lunged across the seats, grabbed the steering wheel, locked the doors, started moving. Immediately, something slammed against the vehicle. The entire car shook, a second impact, then another. White hands appeared against the windows, faces pressed against the glass, whispers exploded from every direction. Ada! Ada gripped the wheel tighter. Ada! Her mother's voice. Ada froze, then remembered. Do not listen. Ada? Victor's voice. Crying, begging, help me. Ada screamed, pressed harder on the accelerator. The car surged forward. The glow ahead grew brighter, brighter, brighter. Something slammed onto the roof. Another figure clawed at the rear window. The voices became deafening. Children crying, women screaming, people begging. Ada kept driving. Tears blurred her vision, but she never slowed down, never turned around, never looked back. The light filled the windshield. Everything became white. Then, silence. Ada opened her eyes. Silence. For a moment, she simply sat there, breathing, listening, waiting. Nothing. No whispers, no screaming, no scratching sounds. Nothing. Only silence. Slowly, she looked around. The car was gone. Victor was gone. The forest was gone. The endless darkness was gone. She stood beside a paved road. Morning sunlight warmed her skin. Birds chirped in nearby trees. Motorcycles passed. People walked along the roadside carrying bags and buckets. Normal people, living normal lives. Ada stared. Her legs suddenly gave way. She dropped to her knees. A sob escaped her lips. Then another. Then another. Everything she had been holding back finally broke. She cried. Not for herself. For Victor. For the frightened faces in the photographs. For the people who never made it home. For the man who sacrificed himself so she could. Minutes later, she finally stood. Her hands moved instinctively toward her pocket. The pendant, still there. She quickly reached for the photographs. Still there. Victor's handwriting remained visible on the back. His name, his address. Proof. Proof that none of it had been a dream. Ada wiped her eyes, then began walking. She only had one destination, home. Hours later, she stood outside her mother's house. The same small compound, the same wooden gate, the same faded walls. Her chest tightened. She slowly pushed the gate open. The familiar creak echoed through the compound. Inside, Mama Grace was sweeping the yard. The older woman froze. The broom slipped from her hand. For several seconds, neither of them moved. Then Mama Grace ran. Ada! Ada burst into tears. Mama! They collided in a crushing embrace. Grace held her so tightly she could barely breathe. Ada buried her face in her mother's shoulder. The smell, the warmth, the familiarity. Home. At last. Grace pulled back slightly. Both hands held Ada's face. My daughter. Fresh tears rolled down her cheeks. My daughter. Ada could barely speak. Her voice shook. Mama? Grace smiled through her tears. Why are you back already? Ada froze. The smile slowly disappeared from her face. What? Grace laughed softly. You only left a few days ago. Ada stared. The world seemed to stop. A few days? Grace nodded. Ada stepped backwards. Confusion flooded her face. Mama, her voice barely worked. It's been 7 years. Silence. Grace frowned. What are you talking about? Ada's breathing quickened. 7 years. Her voice trembled. Victor said... Grace gently touched her arm. Ada? The older woman looked concerned now. You left 3 days ago. Ada's mouth opened. No words came out. 3 days. Not 7 years, not decades. 3 days. The realization hit her like a wave. Everything she had experienced, everything she had survived, Everything Victor had endured. Only 3 days had passed outside. Grace watched her carefully, then said quietly, "It's all right." Ada looked up. Grace smiled sadly. "I already know." Ada blinked. "What?" Grace's eyes softened. "The dream." A chill ran through Ada. Grace nodded slowly. "I saw you." Ada stared. "I saw the road." The older woman looked away. "I saw the darkness." Tears filled her eyes again. "And I saw the man trying to bring you home." Silence. Neither of them spoke. Then Grace gently took Ada's hand. "Come inside." Ada looked down at Victor's pendant, then back at her mother, and for the first time since entering the last car, she truly believed she was safe. The following morning, Ada stood outside a modest bungalow. The address matched the one Victor had written on the back of the photograph. Her heart pounded. For a moment, she almost turned back. How do you explain something like this? How do you tell parents that their missing son saved your life from a place that should not exist?
Slowly, she knocked. A few moments later, the door opened. An elderly woman stood there. She looked tired, older than the woman in Victor's photograph. Grief had aged her. "Good afternoon, Ma." The woman nodded politely. "Good afternoon." Ada's mouth suddenly felt dry. She reached into her bag, then removed the photograph. The woman's eyes immediately widened. Her hands began shaking. "No." She stepped forward. "No." Ada carefully held out the photograph. The woman grabbed it. Tears instantly filled her eyes. Behind her, an elderly man appeared. "What is it?" Then he saw the photograph. The color drained from his face. For several seconds, neither parent spoke. They simply stared, as if afraid the picture might disappear. Finally, the woman looked up. Her voice trembled. "Where did you get this?" Ada swallowed, then removed the pendant. The moment the woman saw it, she broke down. A cry escaped her lips. She covered her mouth with both hands. The older man sat down heavily, unable to speak, unable to move. The pendant trembled in Ada's hand. "He told me to bring it home." Silence. The woman cried harder. Ada continued. "He asked me to tell you something." Both parents looked at her. "He said," Ada's voice shook, "he never forgot you." The old man lowered his head. Tears rolled down his face. The woman sobbed openly now. For years they had waited. For years they had hoped. For years they had wondered. And now, for the first time, they finally had an answer. Not the answer they wanted, but an answer. The old man wiped his eyes, then looked at Ada. His name was Victor. Ada nodded. The man smiled sadly. "We know." Silence filled the room. Then he added quietly, "Thank you for bringing our son home."
Ada looked down at the pendant. Victor had never escaped, but part of him had, and somehow that was enough. That night, Ada sat alone in her room. A candle rested on her table. Beside it sat Victor's photograph. She stared at it for a long time. Slowly, she began to type. Every detail, every warning, every name, every rule, the village, the road, the last car, everything. If she could not save Victor, perhaps she could save someone else. Outside, the night wind moved softly through the trees. Ada looked toward the window, then smiled faintly. Not from happiness, from gratitude. She was alive, and she would never forget the man who made that possible.
Thanks for watching.
If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.